Fabrizio Romano confirms Douglas Luiz wants Premier League return. We know Manchester United wants a midfielder, but we know we might have to get someone on the cheap. And Douglas Luiz was explored in January. He could be that guy. Could even Sancho be involved in a swap deal? Watkins deal is on, people. Reports earlier today that it was on, then reports that it was off. Reports coming out today that the Watkins deal is on. Villa are not going to make it easy. But Villa are obviously not going to make it easy because they want as much money as possible. But Garnacho could be going one way, Watkins could be going the other way. Good sources on this. Talks, contact has been made. Let's talk about a Garnacho Watkins swap deal, the latest news, what you need to know on that, why it's a good deal, and why Villa are holding a certain stance. Sesko deal looks like it's off. It looks like it's Newcastle bound. United starting to rule themselves out of Sesko. Is that because they've chosen Watkins? What is the latest on Jackson? And then we got updates on Lammens, Anana, Lammens Wants United, Romano's confirmed that, and more. So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your 10-minute Manchester United news, transfer news, and update roundup. But I round up all the latest Manchester United news into a 10-minute video for you guys. So yeah, let's dive into it. This is your 10-minute roundup. If you do enjoy today's video, there will be 10-minute roundups pretty much every evening throughout the window. So if you are new, feel free to subscribe. Let's dive into it. Douglas Luiz wants to go back to the Premier League this summer as priority. His relationship with Juventus is broken. He will surely leave. Agent now in Italy to assess all options. Boom. So, Douglas Luiz isn't on my top 5 midfielders that I want Manchester United to bring in. But Douglas Luiz is on my top 5 realistic, cheap deals that we could do that would definitely improve the midfield. And if we don't have the money to bring in the midfielders I want, we should most definitely explore. I think he'd be open to a move. I think United will consider this later in the window. And we know that Juventus holds some interest in Sancho. So maybe some kind of deal can be made there. I think it's one to watch. I would love, obviously, Baleba. I really don't think that's going to happen. I like Javi Guerrera, but I don't think there's a lot of credibility in those links. So realistically, this could be one to watch. I think he's better than Ndidi. I think he's better than Paulinho and other players that are available. Let me know your thoughts down below. Let's get into the striker news. So, we reported this morning about a Watkins deal, and then media came out and was like, Villa won't sell, it's off, it's not happening, blah, 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 basically. They tried to suggest that there wasn't anything going on, blah, blah, blah. Ben Jacobs said, nope, that's not the case. Ben Jacobs said, bit odd, in a response. Ben Jacobs, just for context, was replying to a guy that said, Villa sources saying no contact's been made or something like that. And Ben Jacobs said, bit odd that's being reported if they've communicated their position to United as widely reported for there to have been no contact. Hard to do that unless there's contact, which there has been to my understanding. Villa can't communicate to United they don't want to sell him unless there's been contact. Do you know what I mean? You know, because then Villa would have to contact United to tell them we don't want to sell him in the first place. But there was talk of there being no contact. People were trying to rubbish the reports this morning. But actually, Ben Jacobs was doubling down and saying, look, there has been contact. It's not going to be an easy deal to do. Villa aren't the most open to selling, but there will be contact. And the Secret Scout, which is an ITK account, and look, a lot of the ITK accounts are full of shite, but the Secret Scout is one of the better ITK accounts, one of the good ones, said that Manchester United have made an official move for Ole Watkins. We've got reports coming out that the deal is on, we have made an official move, there has been contact. And Sky Sports were even saying late tonight, Manchester United have held initial talks with Aston Villa over Ole Watkins amid Villa's interest in Garnacho. So despite reports coming out earlier that, there wasn't really anything going on, Sky Sports are doubling down saying, look, talks have been there, contact has been there, despite what, some Villa sources tried to put out. They did mention this. Villa do not want to lose Watkins and are understood to value in the region of 60 million, but interest in England's number 9 is thought to be intensifying. Now, I'm going to tell you something quickly. Villa could do with the funds, and they were open to selling Watkins in January. Villa making out Watkins is not for sale and holding that stance will help them get 60 million for a 40 million player. I think a swap deal involving Garnacho and Watkins is possible. Garnacho will also be far more sellable and valuable in the future. I think Villa are open to a Watkins-Garnacho swap deal, but I think Villa are going to play there. We're really not open to selling Watkins. He's valued at 60 million. We don't want to sell him because do you know what that does? That means that Man United have to pay up more for Watkins because Villa are going to act like they really don't want to sell him. I think this is a game from Villa. I think Villa are open to selling him. They know that Garnacho is worth more than Watkins in the market. He is because of age and everything. But if you're Villa, you go, you know what? Man United desperate to get rid of Garnacho. We're going to act like we don't want to sell Watkins. So we get a really good deal and actually could maybe even get straight swap Garnacho Watkins, 60 million each for both of them. When actually Garnacho should be worth about a little bit more than Watkins in this market because you've got to think about age and potential, everything. I think Villa are very much open to the move, to be honest, because look, there's conversations ongoing. They were somewhat open to something in January, but I think it's let's pretend we're not letting this happen so they can get a lot of money. Because when you're seeing the striker market, the price around Sesko, the price around Ekatike, the price that Chelsea's putting on Nicholas Jackson, you could see why they value Watkins at 60 million. Also, Vissa's been valued at 50 million. Now, they've been linked to Vissa. Is that an alternative? Who knows? But Ben Jacobs doubled down on what he said this morning and said basically United have held talks over Watkins, despite reports. This is all coming out tonight. Watkins is valued at 60 million. Villa preference to keep or not sell about replacement, but Villa retain interest in Garnacho. Separate deals should they advance talks. I think it could be a situation of rather than doing a straight up Garnacho Watkins swap, we give them 55 million for Watkins. They give us 60 million for Garnacho. They get a bit of PSR. We get a bit of PSR. Bish bash bosh. A little bit like they did a bit of business with Everton and Chelsea last summer, but on a smaller scale. That's what I think. But anyway, I want to talk about this and something that I noticed. Well, I didn't notice, something that I read. Only Bayern and Bruno made more runs in behind the opposition's defence than Watkins in the Premier League last season. We look at Amaran, the way he likes to build up, the way he likes the runs and the movements from his striker and from his front line. I think the midfield is so key. But if you look at how much Amaran demands from his striker in terms of movement and runs, you could see why Amaran would love Watkins. You can see why Amaran would absolutely love Watkins. And I can see Watkins being the first choice striker. I've always felt we'll probably end up with Jackson. But I can absolutely see why Watkins would be the first choice striker. And look, Watkins and Mbeumo have played together. People forget that. They were the Brentford Ballers, man. Look at that. Look at that. So yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. Let's get into the next story. The cost of Benjamin Sesko is seen as expensive by Manchester United. Man United explored the possibility days ago. Now, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily off, but he's saying it's expensive. Interestingly, Isak now wants to leave Newcastle. Liverpool want Isak. They're working on selling Nunes. Nunes could be going to Saudi. Guess who Newcastle exploring? Sesko. Newcastle will have funds from that, especially if they sell Isak. They're going to have a lot of funds. I don't think we'll get Sesko. I think we'll end up with Jackson or Watkins. Moise Keane has been linked. I don't think we'll get him. I think it'll be Jackson or Watkins. So, again, more reports on Sesko. United, first of all, Man United have ruled out any move for Alexander Isak. That's news today. And I quote tweeted the news and said, exclusive, Man United have ruled out any move for Lamine Yamal. I mean, I think we all knew that we weren't getting Isak, despite him wanting to leave Newcastle. Where's the money coming from? And I think Isak wants to leave Newcastle for a better club, and we ain't better than Newcastle right now. We might be bigger, we might have more history, but we're not better. Anyway, Benjamin Sesko also confirmed as a too expensive option. So it's Man United slowly ruling themselves out of Sesko. Now, Man United want a keeper, and there's Emi Martinez and there's Lammens that have been most linked. And they may go for the cheaper and younger option here in Lammens, who wants Manchester United. He is keen on joining United, is being reported by Romano. But Romano did say that United still need to decide whether they want to go for an experienced goalkeeper like Martinez, who's very keen on joining United, basically begging for the move. But look, if I had a choice between signing Martinez or Ole Watkins from Villa, I'm signing Ole Watkins over Emi Martinez any day of the week. I think most people would agree with me. I mean, if you disagree with me, let me know. Or a young keeper like Lammens. Emi Martinez is better than Lammens. I assume, just from, I assume that. I haven't watched enough of Lammens to know for sure, but I'd say he probably is. But Emi Martinez makes mistakes, and he gets away with that at Villa. If he makes those same mistakes at United, people would comment on it more, and he gets away with more. I like Emi Martinez, but not for the price that Villa want. He's begging for the move. Cool, I like that. But, let's be real. I'd probably take Lammens because I think if Lammens is half the price, Like, basically, let's say we get Watkins in a swap for Garnacho, and then we have a choice of Emi Martinez and no one else, or Lammens, and then we could do a deal for Douglas Luiz. Because let's say we don't sell anyone else, so we can just about afford a cheap Douglas Luiz deal, or maybe a Hayden Hackney, or maybe a Guerrera, a midfielder under 30 million. I think the 20 million cheaper Lammens is than Emi Martinez would allow us to potentially get something in midfield, and that would work better for me. Ben Jacobs was on the United Stand today, and he also did mention that while Onana's not been told that he's sold pros to requirements at United, reports that he heard is that United did actually even try a loan deal for Emi Martinez, but Villa were like, probably have none of that. So Emi Martinez, you can't rule it out, but I think Lammens is most likely. But we'll see what happens with this Garnacho swap deal. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching. Bye.